The following program is rated G. It is suitable for all audiences.
What is the importance of reading?
And is it essential for every student?
I am Mary Jane A. Calanya.
And I am Josephine G. Ellie.
Let's find out the reason why reading matters.
Reading is a process of looking at a series of signs and symbols while getting meaning from them. When we read, we use our eyes to receive such as letters, punctuation marks, and spaces, and use our brains to convert them into words, sentences, and even paragraphs, so that we can pronounce the words that we read. In this sense, reading is also a productive skill in that we are both receiving information and transmitting it. Reading is the third of our four language skills, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. In your own language, reading is usually the third language skill that we learn. Moreover, reading comprehension is also defined as a level of understanding of a text or message. This understanding comes from the interaction between the words that are written and how they trigger knowledge outside the text or message. Comprehension is a creative process.
Reading is an introverted habit of the antisocial. However, you will be pleasantly surprised to find out that reading has numerous positive effects on your emotional, intellectual, and psychological state of mind. A recent study found that people who read are 2.5 less likely to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's syndrome later on in life. But this doesn't mean that reading will prevent a disease. It proves a slight relationship between reading and prevention. An education professor, Anthony Cunningham, wrote a research paper and discovered that reading does actually make you smarter. Whether or not you realize it, reading stockpiles your brain with new information and you never knew when it came in handy. According to Crystal Russell, a behavioral researcher, reading can help you with any stress or turmoil occurring in your life. If you're going through a heartbreak or simply need to relax, read a book.
We have conducted a survey among English majors in various colleges and universities, and definitely not only a survey, but also a test for students to determine their reading comprehension and as well as how they analyze every single word they read. Our first question is, are you reading books? That comes with the multiple choices such as sometimes, always, seldom, and never. But grammatically speaking, the question should be, do you read books? And the answers are either yes or no. Out of 50 English majors, 33 answered sometimes, 15 for always, 2 for seldom, and none for never. Another one is the second question. What type of books are you reading? That must be, what type of books do you read? Remember the first rule in subject-verb agreement. Singular subject demands a singular verb, while the plural subject demands a plural verb. And the tense of the verb should also be in the present form, not progressive. 28% of English majors said they read fiction. 20% of them answered they're fond of non-fiction. 14% goes to academic-related books. 10% for Wattpad or ebooks. Only 6% for periodicals, while 32% for others. However, the 32% of them who answered for others They then even wrote their own genre, even if there is a blank which indicates that they have to specify. And the last question, what language did you always read? It should be, what language do you often read? Furthermore, 14% said they read Filipino books. 14% said they only read English books, while 71% of them claims that they only read other languages. But how come they could read other languages instead of English and Filipino? There are some students who didn't follow the common instruction when answering in a survey. It is pretty much obvious to simply shade if there are circles beside the choices instead of underlining or encircling your answers, but there are some students who fail to do that. Thus, the result of our survey indicates that there are few students who have to improve their reading comprehension. But on the other hand, only 13% of the English major students made some sort of mistakes. But the rest have analyzed the questions very carefully, and they even noticed the grammatical errors.
So for me, reading is very essential for me as a future teacher and also as English majors. Why? Because as English majors, though it is not that needed, but for me, reading is very important for us. I used to read books with the author of books of John Green. I love the way he creates the story. And another thing is that the thing about John Green is that it is something that's romantic, but at the end, someone will die. Then in reading, you know what? In reading, everything is being done with reading. I mean, it's not that compulsory that you need to read a lot, but you can read if you have spare time, right? And through reading, you know what, you can travel to another world through the imaginations of the author. At least you have some things that you doesn't know about, for example, about that place, the different characteristics of the characters in the story. For reading comprehension, for me, as a student, I think it is very essential that in reading there must be comprehension, because what's the purpose of reading without comprehension? I mean, you're just reading but doesn't know what you are reading, so it's just nonsense. I'm proud to say that I love to read different kinds of books, and at the same time I'm building my own mini library at our house, because another factor about I love books and reading is that because of the author, the different genres, especially romantic, tragedy, and other genres that the author creates, and also their covers. From the cover of the book itself, it was so attractive. And also I love reading because when I read something, I then what do you call this? I impart my knowledge of what I have read to the other students. Not just with the students, but also to my friends, just like that. And you know what's funny about reading is that your friends and the people surrounds you. When I told them about a certain story, it seems like they also want to read the book just because of telling them what the story is all about. Is that all? For what? To help every student to build their genuine love for reading. For me, as I love to read, I think I suggest that, especially to the English majors, I suggest that they must love to read. such things, though it's fictional, but still you can imagine such things. You can go to different places just by reading. And how can reading help a student understand things? As just what I've said a while ago, that students can understand such things and can not just only to understand, but they may learn and new things from the books that they have read, and something that can bring them to another world. Okay, and what can you say about the reading comprehension of students nowadays? I don't know about the reading comprehension of the students nowadays, but some of them, I think, some of the students only read books just because they are required to read, and others they do not read a book with compassion, with love that they really need to put while reading. And what is the relevance of reading? So reading for me, part of my life is there is a part of my life that reading is into it. Because for me, especially now, after I finish to read a certain book, I'm looking for something new that I am going to read. But it only differs to the different genre, because sometimes I buy books just because I love the cover, but when I start reading about the book, it is something that I don't like it anymore, because at the first story of the book, only in the introduction, it seems like it doesn't catch my attention as a reader. And then okay, so reading. I think this will be my message for all the students. For me, even though you're not English majors, whatever courses you get, it doesn't matter. I just want you to know that reading is important, and I want you to be also like me, that reading is a part of my life also, because for me, in reading, everything is on it. Sometimes I can relate to what I have read, and I know that I am not the only one who can relate to the different works of the other authors, right? So, continue read books, and I know that everything that you have read, I know that you can get knowledge about it, you can learn new things, and because in literature is something that is very universal, though some of it is fictional, but still it touches our heart. As long as it touches our heart as a reader, therefore reading is very effective, and we need it for all of us.
As an English major, what advice can you give to your fellow students to build their own genuine love for reading?
I would suggest they find out what genre they like first. If it's reading, they must know what they like. If they like romance or tragedy or epics, that you really have to know what you really like. Because if you don't know your genre, I mean, if you really like for example, romance, and you're gonna read a whole book of a novel with epic, the theme is epic, you're gonna find it very boring, and it's gonna be very hard for you to finish that novel. So first is to know what genre they like, what they are interested in, and continue to read. Try to get a good novel and start from there, read, and all else will follow.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, tell about your background in reading. What genre do you prefer to read?
Genre. Bago ko sa pagbabasa, natuto lang naman magbasa nung magbasa talaga na yung habit high school, pero ang mga binasa ko doon, mga unang No Limit Hunger, El Filibusterismo, yan, lahat ng mga Ibong Adarna, yan, nagsimula yan dyan. Hanggang no college, yan, malalaki ng mga libro na binabasa ko. Mga iba't ibang anthology, pumunta sa library para makita yung iba't ibang mga genre na binabasa. Madalas, ang genre na binabasa ko madalas, fiction, yung tuluyan, prose. No? Mababasa rin ako ng mga patula, pero bihira lang talaga.
Sir, how can students enhance their ability to comprehend?
Kailangan maging habit niya yung pagbabasa. Higit niyang gawin yun na dapat basa lang siya ng basa yun, tapos suriin niya rin yung binabasa niya, at syempre makipag-dialogue din sa ibang taong nagbabasa rin. Kasi syempre kailangan may share niya yung mga nalalaman niya dun sa nabasa niya, ganun din dun sa taong nagbabasa rin. Palitan ng diskurso, two-way communication dapat.
Sir, tell something about your own perception in reading.
Pagbabasa, perception, pagkatuto. Kumbaga, yan yung bukal ng batis ng kaalaman. Pag hindi ka nagbasa, parang pag hindi ka nagbabasa, wala pinagkaiba to sa mga taong hindi masyadong nakapag-aral.
Sir, conclusion or recommendation about reading for students?
Magbasa muna always reading, no? Basa na ng basa. Kung hindi nila kayang sakyan yung mga matataas na babasahin, magsimula muna siguro sa yung gusto nila, no? Hindi ko pinagbabawalan na, hindi ko sinasabing huwag ninyong magbasa ng pocketbook, ng Wattpad. Kung yun talaga muna ang magiging pagdasyon nila para magbasa, simulan muna nila doon, yung medyo sabihin na natin, nakaka-entertain muna sa kanila. Pero hindi dapat doon nagtatapos. Dapat itataas nila yung level ng kanilang mga binabasa hanggang sa maging kagigiliwan nila yung pagbabasa.
Tell about your background in reading. What genre do you prefer to read? I got an interest in reading as early as preparatory years. Actually, the very first material that I finished reading was a comic, which I took from a mound of trash near our house. I can say that my mother helped me a lot to learn how to read despite of the physical discipline that she implements every time I commit mistakes. I prefer to read classic literature like Gulliver's Travels, Scarlet Letter, and War of the Worlds, and spiritual magazines like Awake and the Watchtower of Jehovah's Witnesses. How can students enhance their ability to comprehend? First, students should condition themselves before reading. It means that they should look for conducive place to read and prepare helpful materials like dictionary, highlighters, pencil, and paper. Next, they should concentrate or focus. It means that they have to forget their worries while reading. And the important thing, read and read until they succeed. Tell something about your own perception in reading. I can say that reading makes my day complete. It is a part of my daily routine. Reading gives me happiness and satisfaction.
Based on the interviews and surveys that we've gathered, it proves that reading plays a big role in our life. Understanding what you've read is the real essence of reading. Right, Jeffrey?
Definitely. Because through reading, we can enhance our ability and as well as our comprehension. And reading is one of the ways to improve our life. And also, reading can shape one's mind in order to share and gain knowledge, especially among students. And that is why
Reading matters.
Interviews, reading is very essential. Because through reading,
Based on the interview and surveys that we've gathered,
The results. What is the importance of reading?
And is it
Based on yours, in A Kalanya,
And I am Jessica G. Ellie.
let's find the reason why.
Ako naman!